Hi, good morning, people. I'm back again for my second ever podcast and to talk about, current things in our everyday lives. And there's something I'd like to discuss today. Well, in general, I have to talk about politics because, you can't turn on the TV these days without hearing some crazy story, you know, about what's going on in the south of us in the States. And, when you think of it, I view world politics as something like families, right? Like if each country was a family, and you have your good neighbors and your bad neighbors. You have the neighbors that are really, stuck up and don't do anything for anybody and just, very narcissistic and just want to tell you like, oh, I got a new car, I got a new this, I got a new that, and that's one kind of, you know, family. And then you've got your families who are really poor, and their house is always a mess. They got way too many kids, and there's always trash outside of their homes. Their homes aren't well maintained. So that would be like another kind of country. And then you've got your middle class country, where people are not rich, but, have what they need, take care of their children, send them to school. And, so if we're to break down countries, like what kind of family would the Americans be? What kind of family would Canada be? What kind of family would Africa be? And you see them this way, because the family that's living south of us is really, really shockingly, terribly. I mean, everybody's talking about them because they're so bad. And that leads me to another kind of relevant topic, is who's in charge? Like, who is the patriarch of this family? I could say he's a wonderful, honest, good-looking, healthy family man, very honest, very pure, very good-hearted and kind. But that would be a lie. That would be a lie, because we know that DJT is the worst of the worst. He's selfish, he lies, and he makes up stories, and like the little kid that you see in the kitchen with chocolate icing all over their face, and you go like, okay, like, were you eating my cake? And they're like, no, the evidence is there, but he'll deny it till, and you say, well, I'm gonna have to punish you for lying, right? Well, but I didn't do it. And that is what we hear from the President of the United States. And looking at different party presidents, the scandals, I'm sorry to say the Republicans really have a bad record. I mean, the Democrats aren't perfect, but the Republicans really, like Nixon is one example. And what was it he said? I am not a crook. I'm not a crook. Guess what? He was a crook. So what can we do? I don't know. We can't do anything. I think it's just helpful to kind of vent, to share these feelings. Do people agree with me? Do they not agree with me? It's just common sense. So that's my rant about politics. And I also too think about that movie that was made in the 90s, Mrs. Doubtfire, when she met the kids at the front door. Mrs. Doubtfire met the kids, and the little boy said to her, like, oh, you're so big, like you look like a football player or whatever. And she said, well, that's honest, and I appreciate honesty, and don't lose that. She was like a lot of people do when they enter politics. And I'm thinking, that is the truest statement I've ever heard. People lose their honesty when they become politics. And I think that we all have, there is enough money to go around. There is enough money to care for the poor and needy in our countries, in America. but because the money's misspent. And what happened to the wall that Trump was supposed to build? Maybe instead of building a ballroom, or renovating the Kennedy Center, why doesn't he build that wall that he promised on his first term? What happened to that plan? Nobody talks about that anymore. And the Epstein files, another, sad story we listen to. They've been talking about that forever, it seems like. And, it's kind of reminds me of the COVID situation. When we started COVID, you couldn't turn, every morning the news started with a story about COVID, how many people were dying, and, and all the tragedies that befell these people that were affected with COVID, right? Well, now COVID has been replaced with the Epstein files. But there's no cure for this situation. There's just no cure. There's no vaccine. We just have to grin and bear it and thank God we're not Americans, and their healthcare system is broken, and people are suffering so greatly in the States. But as I say, there's enough money to go around, but it's misspent. And if they would, it's like, again, like a family, right? Your parents, also as the government, is like, they're in charge of the money. They earn the money, they're in charge, like how much they put towards food, entertainment, clothing, education, etc., etc. And our government is doing that for us. And we are like the children of the government. And we expect to be treated fairly and nicely, and yes, sometimes we deserve, to be punished. We do things that are bad and wrong, and that's okay. But when you punish people just for having an accent or being a different color, like, that's crazy. So let's move on. Let's just, I don't have a solution. I'm just bombarded with this stuff all the time. And I just want to share my thoughts with you, just to vent, to see if you agree with me. I don't know if there's a comment section, tell me that you agree. If you disagree, that's okay too. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. I don't believe in shoving my opinions down somebody's throat. I'm not going to say because I believe this, you have to believe it, because I'm always right, and, nobody else is right. I'm not that kind of a person. So, anyway, okay, I think I've said enough about that for today. I don't know what else to say about that, but also to a belated happy Valentine's Day, which was yesterday. My daughter's birthday's on Valentine's. One of my daughter's birthdays on Valentine's Day. My sister's birthday's on Valentine's Day. My second daughter, her birthday's on February 10th. I have a nephew, and a great nephew, February 10th, and a niece who's February 12th. So I've been really, really busy the last, week. Sharing dinners with family and stuff, celebrating their birthdays. So I haven't came back to you before this. And what else is there to say? The weather's getting better. Spring is just around the corner. Thank heaven. We've had enough snow this year. I'm not a fan of snow. Well, it would be okay. Like, it is pretty, and I wouldn't mind if it just like snowed on the lawn and there wasn't any snow on the sidewalks and roads. That'd be perfect. But there's always more shoveling to do every winter and every year. Same thing over and over. And so one of my puppies is barking. There's probably somebody walking down the street. He just seems to bark for no reason. Not a lot, but I guess that's the only way they can communicate. So wouldn't it be great, though, if our dogs could talk? What would they say to us? What are they thinking, when they see us eating and we're not sharing our food? What are they thinking? Do they want to, grab it out of our hands and eat it themselves? Good thing they can't talk, because they'd probably really, take me for a walk and feed me some more. My water bowl's empty. And yeah, dogs are like little people, like little mute people that can't communicate except through barking and wagging their tails, I guess. And, so don't worry, I'm not Kristi Noem. I'm not going to shoot my dog in the face because he's barking. Everybody just heard Kristi Noem. Boy, that was crazy. Crazy. Oh, and Pam Bondi. Oh my gosh. Okay, back to I have to go back to the politics a little bit. If anybody watched TV and watched Pam Bondi at that, whatever Congress meeting she was in, was that like insane? Where she's telling these people like, oh, shut up and grow up and don't call me a liar and I'm right and you're wrong and you're washed up and you're a bad lawyer. When I was young, I always thought politicians, in my child mind, right? I thought politicians, were intelligent and, had some class and decorum and, well educated and were fair and honest people. Wow, that's a slap in the face because guess what? They're anything but. And the American politics are the worst. The worst. Wow. And I mean, okay, everybody wants to be rich and famous. Don't you think? Don't you think everybody would love to be rich and famous for some reason? But I mean, these politicians who are always on the news, does that give them personal satisfaction? Like, oh, I'm on TV again. Gotta watch TV. I'm gonna record this because I'm on TV. Is that their goal? And money, I mean, how much money does a person really need? Everybody wants to be wealthy, but I mean, to have money that you're never going to spend is kind of, they don't want to share it. They don't want to help anybody. They're just all in it for themselves. They want more. They're not ever satisfied. And that to me is insanity. It's just really a sad world, and I wonder how these politicians can look in the mirror and, do they go to bed at night and think, well, I did a good job today. I'm really doing a great job. I'm very, honest and, I'm doing what I was hired to do and I'm representing the Americas and I can help people. What do they think when they look in the mirror? Like, maybe they covered all their mirrors up with black cloth so they don't have to look at themselves, because at the end of the day, they're just some really bad people in politics right now. So, well, life goes on. Maybe it'll get better. They said every generation has its trials and tribulations. There's bad people, and there'll always be bad people and good people, and, and speaking of bad people, that's a sin what happened to Nancy Guthrie, that 84-year-old woman who was kidnapped out of her home. That bothers me a lot. To think of, kidnapping a helpless old woman like that is really a sin. What's the point? Like, why? They haven't got a ransom, and if they do, if somebody agrees to pay the money, how could you ever get away? You're trying to think, like, how would I kidnap a person? If I knew that I could get, $5 million for kidnapping this rich and famous person, how do you collect the money? Because wherever the money goes, somebody's going to be watching you. There's cameras everywhere. So to me, it just doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense why these people behave so badly. I don't know. And in the Epstein files, that's another crazy, terrible story that we hear about every day. And I mean, famous people, like rich and famous people, men and women, mostly men, are resigning, they're quitting their jobs. Prince Andrew, lost his title in England. All these people are being held accountable. Even some of them know that, if their name is mentioned, they're going to quit their job, resign their job, right? But not Trump. Oh, no, not Trump. Oh, he's the only, he didn't do anything wrong. Gosh forbid. Like, don't ever accuse him of doing anything wrong, because he'll deny it till the day he dies. And mark my words, one of these days, I don't know if I should say this out loud, but one of these days, he's going to try and pass a bill like the United States of Trump. That's his goal. But anyway, it's a sad, sad world. But hopefully, we can get past it. Focus on love, treating each other kindly. Your family, take care of your family. Take care of your health, your personal health, things you can do to help yourself. You can't change the world. You're not going to change the politics of this world. but hopefully, you can be your best and just take care of yourself and your family. Love your children. Just love your children. And there's another thing that's kind of a little bit crazy. I mean, my daughter and I, okay, here's a story. My daughter and I went to a ski resort last winter, and I was sitting in the car, trying to get warm, and and skiing isn't the cheapest, like, hobby, right? They're kind of higher priced, entertainment. And so this vehicle pulled up. I was sitting in my car, my daughter was out skiing, and this vehicle pulled up. Nice vehicle, like, beautiful vehicle, right? Looked brand new. And anyway, so this man and woman got out of the car. I'd say they were in their late 30s maybe, and well dressed. And then they hauled two little girls out of their vehicle to go skiing. And that mother, the girls were very beautiful. One was about like 8 and the other was about 5. And that mother, she must have let the F-bomb drop, I don't know, like 50 times, like in a couple of minutes, like, oh, get your effing this and get your effing that, and oh, God, we should effing go home, and grabbing the kid and shaking the kid, and the kid's, helmet was down over her eyes, and she's kind of crying, and her mom says, like, shut up, you effing this. I mean, I was flabbergasted. I almost rolled down the window and said something to him, but then I thought, she's just going to get mad at me and curse at me, right? It's not my family. And then they left, and I thought, well, if I had a paper and pen, which I didn't, I would have written a note and left it on her windshield. Like, this is such bad behavior. What are we teaching our children? Why do people curse all the time? Was that even a word, like, in the 30s or 40s? You watch these old movies. I mean, where's all the niceness gone? Music has it. Every time you turn on the TV, somebody's saying it. It's the same as saying, I don't know. People just, I can't even think of an example, because everybody's just saying that. And to teach your children to say that is really, really sad. It's really sad, But anyway, so these people did come back to their car eventually. And I just rolled down my window and I said to the woman, I says, oh, your daughters are really, really beautiful. Hopefully she get the message that,